Hey team, Patrick here. Now today's lesson is going to be the first in a new series to run alongside the beginner tennis series, but for more advanced players that maybe know the shots, but we're going to cover the most common mistakes I see with club player strokes. And today's lesson, we're going to look at the backhand slice. This was inspired by an in-person lesson I had with a player a couple of weeks ago, and I find that it's not that players struggle to get the slice, but struggle to get this depth and this penetration through the court where the ball stays low and really skids through. So let's get into it. The first mistake we can look at straight away is the grip, and occasionally players will have too much of an Eastern backhand grip. This is going to make it difficult to pick the ball up if the ball is low, but also to open the racket face if we want to play a higher, more defensive slice. But generally the mistake I see players make is not changing the grip between the forehand and the backhand, and this results in too open a racket face. So I recommend the continental grip, which is going to give us the best feel and variety of shot. And get your non-dominant hand on the throat of the racket, closer to the strings. This is going to give us more control of the racket head. And I find that if players have both hands on the grip, then the left hand or the non-dominant hand is less likely to go back to aid with our balance later in the stroke. Staying on the setup, and players will often take the racket back too low, but this doesn't allow for the proper high to low swing path needed to achieve slice, and with not enough coil of the upper body, and players will place the racket behind the ball, but now there's no leverage and I can only push forwards with my arm. We want this L shape between our racket and our forearm where I'm in this leveraged position. The butt cap is pointing more across the baseline, and now instead of pushing, we can pull down and across our body using the big muscles. Now, the old school way of teaching slice was phrases like, imagine you're clearing a table in front of you, where the swing path was very linear, but we can't create the same amount of power or underspin than if we utilize more of a high to low circular swing path, where the racket traces this letter U shape from high to low and back to high again. And don't use too much of the wrist when hitting the shot. And instead it comes from our shoulders rotating and our forearm extending. Our shoulders rotating and our forearm extending. And if I use the wrist, if the wrist is too active during the stroke, it's either going to be too weak, and it's also going to be difficult to control the racket face, where I'm going to open the racket face and pop the ball too high in the air, or I'm going to close the racket face and take too much spin off the ball. So we want to feel like we keep our strings facing the net throughout the contact. And on the finish, have the non-dominant hand go backwards to counterbalance the force of the racket going forwards. And when I see players' hands go forwards together, it leads to this over-rotation, loss of control of their body, and spinning out of the shot when they try and apply power. So to practice this and fix this, we're going to do some shadow swings, starting with a check of our grip. And as a right-hander, I'm going to place my racket on my left shoulder with my shoulder blade facing the net. And I'm going to keep my wrist passive and make this U shape where I finish with my strings in a very neutral position, flat to the ceiling or the sky on the opposite side of my body. Right, I was excited to bring this video to you as I've seen the players that I'm working with really transform their own backhand slice. So go out, film yourself and practice these elements and let me know in the comments how you get on. And if this video has helped, please leave it a like. I'm going to continue this series, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss my next video. Cheers, guys.